This is another snapshot of the distances from Central Asia. You can see all the options that they have available in the east and the west, and from that you can see that Pakistani ports and also Iran, they seem to be the logical answer. So if we are able to develop this structure moving forward, this would be the best option and way forward. This is the ITI, which is Islamabad, Tehran, Istanbul, or Istanbul, Tehran, Islamabad. This is a rail network which has been developed by the Turkish and the Iranian and the Pakistani government. And there is an attempt to develop the road corridor also from Pakistan across Iran into Turkey and eventually into Europe. This again is an area where a lot of work is being put in, and we feel, especially with the sanctions when they're lifted in Iran, this is going to come up as a strong area. The Chaipak transport corridor. You can see it's an unbelievable structure. The Karakoram Highway is the road structure which connects Pakistan with Western China. The highway was has been built by the governments of Pakistan and China. It was opened to the public in 1986. The Karakoram Highway between the two countries is the highest road network ever. It's 15,500 feet above sea level. It is the shortest route connecting this vast region of Western China to the seaports of southern Pakistan. However, the en route transport infrastructure is still being upgraded and developed. The highway runs from Kashgar in China to Abbottabad in Pakistan for about 1,300 kilometers and then connects to the Pakistani road network leading to the ports, which is another 1,500 kilometers. So you can see the distance is not that much as compared to what they'd have to do if they were within China. In 2010, a memorandum of understanding was signed between the governments of China and Pakistan to upgrade the road network. So from a width of 10 meters, now they're moving it to 30 meters. So there's a lot of work going on, and there's a rail network also coming up over there. Here you can also see the potential for China to use Pakistan as a gateway into the Middle East and Africa. And I think this is what, in fact, the Chinese president is due in Pakistan tomorrow. And one of the main thrusts of this meeting, 2 days of meeting, is their investment into infrastructure to promote connectivity through Pakistan to the south. Here I mention a possible Indo-Pak transport corridor. A lot of our commerce between India and Pakistan has been dwarfed, unfortunately, by political considerations. We always hope, the business on both sides always hopes that these issues are eventually settled. And if they are, the rewards can be staggering. The level of integration can be huge. Here you can just see briefly that there are two areas where we connect. One is Vaga and one is Kokrapar. If you look at, if you're actually able to do something on connectivity, India will have an opening, westward opening into Central Asia, China, and they can even use our ports. Karachi, for some industry, will be closer than some of the Indian ports also. We all know that Mönchengladbach in Germany uses Rotterdam for their shipments, and I think a lot of French industry uses Antwerp. Similarly, if we have these arrangements and these relationships, I'm sure we can develop this also. So these our ports also can be used by India. One of the areas which we strongly pronounce in Pakistan as an industry is a regional logistics assimilation. I feel that we have a few logistics associations in the region. We have got the SAARC Association, then there's the CARIC region and the ECO region. The regions also shown over here. I think the need of the hour is that we as private business should connect across across geographical boundaries and try to build our logistics connectivity in the private sector. Infrastructure and the government's policies will, I'm sure, follow at some point, but we must connect on our own and try to bring a simulation. And I think, David, what you've been able to do today in calling South Asia, you've sort of pointed us in that direction. This is what we've been trying to do also, and I think moving forward, this would be very useful to do. And I think if we can do this more often, Dubai could be a possibility, both India and Pakistan with the visas and all those issues, so definitely that could be a possibility. So this is what I had more or less to put across as far as this has come. Concerned, a bit unconventional, but I wanted to give you a broad introduction to the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Babar. You put it all in a very different way. It was very well done. So we also know now who are your sports people, what other activities you do other than logistics. Thank you. Our next speaker is Christian Jules Nehom. He's the MD for Maersk Line in UAE, Qatar, Oman, and Iran. He has 24 years of experience in shipping industry. He has worked in Italy, Denmark, Greece, Singapore, Australia, and is currently in UAE for his second term, having already spent previously 9 years in this country from 1997 to 2006. Christian started with Maersk Line as a management trainee and has studied economics and management in Aarhus University, INSEAD, and IMD. I give to you, Christian.
Good afternoon. I will try to be brief and talk a little bit about something that is relevant for the Middle East, which is the oil price and the impact on the freight market. And then, since I also know that there's a lot of visitors for Africa, I would just like to touch on some of the latest data that we have on West and the East African market. And as well, then maybe ask the question to the panel here, what it takes to stay relevant, both, I would say, for your industry and maybe also for Dubai, where I'm based, which I think are interesting points for the future. I was hoping we had a slide here. I can see you off, yeah. Anyway, when we talk about the oil price, my first slide will actually show the ability of various countries to have growth based on the oil price, and it shows a list of nations, and some of them we are, at least in the UAE, but also in India and Pakistan, very dependent upon. Angola and Nigeria are two of the ones in West Africa that are very, very dependent on their ability to do business on basis of the oil prices. If we then look at the supplier side and we look at the oil price and the countries that are actually here in the region, and we look at, there's a lot of data on what is needed from a budget to keep the price, the budgets, current budgets in this region on their level. And in today's market with the oil prices around $60, if we were to go at current budgets with no, you can say, savings in any countries, it's really only Kuwait and Qatar that are in a position to maintain these levels of oil price. Everybody else has a budget that is estimated to require an oil price anywhere from $70 to more than $100. And countries that are particularly vulnerable would be countries like Oman and Bahrain and to a certain extent also Iran, although you can say they have lived through it for a little while. Well, I hope I can memorize at least most of the presentation as I was going to introduce it. The second point in terms of that is the oil price is, of course, a concern for the Middle Eastern region.
Anshuman Singh is a mechanical engineer and an MBA with an experience of over 23 years across various industries. For the last 11 years, he has been a prominent CEO of a very large organization in India across diverse sectors such as textiles, retail, supply chain, and logistics. Mr. Anshuman Singh is currently the co-founder and managing director of Future Supply Chain Solutions Limited and group executive board member of the largest retail group in India, which is a $4 billion enterprise. At Future Supply Chain Solutions, he has successfully created India's first integrated and automated supply chain services company, bringing global automations, supply chain technologies, major innovations, and first-time implementations to India across the supply chain management sectors of contract logistics, express transportation, temperature-controlled logistics, and e-commerce logistics. He is a member of several retail and logistics committees of various management bodies in the country and a renowned speaker. Anshuman has been recognized by one of our leading business magazines, Business Today, in 2008 as one of India's hottest young executives for extraordinary achievement in the corporate world at a very young age of below 40. Some of the awards he has won in recent years are Exemplary Leader of the Year by ELSC, Retail Icon of the Year, and Retail Leadership Award by Asia Retail Council. He will address us on modernization of supply chains in India. I give to you Anshuman Singh.
Good afternoon. I must thank David for inviting me here to speak at this August forum, and Mr. Tushar Jani for actually referring me to David. Mr. Jani has already given a brilliant picture of the whole Indian landscape, including the political dispensation. So what he's already given you the macro picture. So what I'll try to do is I'll try to give a micro picture of how supply chain has evolved in the country over the last several years. I was very lucky that I co-founded this company called Future Supply Chains, or FSC, which started as a captive company for the largest retail group in the country and then expanded to outside the group. And of course, today the company's revenues are more from the outside than from the captive retail group. Since retail actually leads to modernizing of logistics in any country, whether it be the US or any other part of the world, actually retail means proliferation of products, and proliferation of products means advent of technology, information technology systems, applications, automation, and so on, because then you're dealing with millions of products to be sent across thousands of selling points. And as the complication increases, you need more and more automation. So when we founded this company in 2007, we found that India still did its supply chain and logistics at a very, very low cost, but there was complete absence of automation and technology which was required for large number of product lines. So one of the first countries that we visited to try and find out the latest techniques was Dubai. In fact, in 2007, I brought the whole team to Jebel Ali. We went across a lot of warehouses because there were no warehouses in India in 2007. There were only godowns. Even today in large corporates, you will hear the term godowns, which means dingy 10, 20, 30,000 square feet of building in any shape, size, color, infrastructure with a whole lot of dust and with a lot of laborers working there. And those are called godowns. The largest godown in those days would be 50, 60, 70,000 square feet. A 1 lakh square feet godown was a rarity. And when we went to Jebel Ali, we saw hundreds of them. And we thought that maybe someday we will see improvements in India. Today, in 2015, and this I'm talking about 2007, in the last 8 years, I think we have small Jebel Alis in plenty in India now. So last 8 years has been a dramatic transformation of India. So but what does India mean? As the speakers before gave a picture of India, actually India has seen dramatic transformations in the last 3 years, good and bad. Last 7, 8 years have seen 3 recessionary cycles across the world and specifically in India. 2009 was not a bad recession, but 2011 was, 2012 was. The times have been tough, the political dispensations have been collusionary and weak, and things have not progressed as fast as they were progressing in 2006, 2007. So in this background, with the advantages of a largest democratic country in the world, we also have the cost of democracy where decision making can slow down. Still, India kept growing, and today, along with India, we also kept growing, and along with India's growth story, we in FSC and a whole lot of other supply chain players have also ridden on India's growth story. Just giving you a soft side of India, what happens in India is just what happened now. Something goes wrong, supply chain has to take over. Sales goofs up, forecasting goofs up, customer cycles goof up, supply chain and logistics is to be blamed. Just like, and I have been used to this for last so many years, just now technology goofed up and I took over. Coincidentally, everybody here is in logistics, but this is what happens with logistics guys across the world, nothing unusual about India. The challenge in India was that 8 years ago, and let me share an example yesterday. When I was actually going to the airport to catch a flight, I forgot to carry the jacket. And on the way, I remember that I missed out carrying a jacket, and I'm coming to an August conference, and I must carry a jacket. Why I forgot to carry the jacket was Indian logistics has been so tough that it's hard to save your pants, forget wear the jacket. However, I was able to get a jacket back. And why is it difficult? Because in India, there is no correct answer. There are no absolute truths. The Indian philosophy itself of several thousand years actually teaches no absolute truths, except birth and death. Even birth and death are not absolute truths in Indian philosophy. A man can have 7 births and 7 deaths. So even births and deaths are no absolute truths. Everything else is like the Indian nod, somewhere in between. It's a maybe and a mostly. So there are no absolute truths in India. Indians think circular, Indian thinks multitask, and everything is thought by Indians in a context, not in absolute truths. Hence, implementing SOPs or standard operating processes in India is one of the most difficult tasks that any manager can ever achieve. They just cannot follow SOPs. They just cannot follow standard operating procedures because every time, everything is a maybe.